Yo guys, it's me, Matrix here, coach of the Welsh Wailords, bringing you the mid-season review for the Wailord draft community. Nearly said Welsh then, I'm so used to saying Welsh Wailords. So, with me, I've got three of our coaches from this first season. We have got Miss Mag,
Hey guys, what's happening?
we got Batista,
Hi.
thanks Batista, and we got Gert.
Hello, Bambinos.
So yeah, it's just going to be like a quick. No, okay, I say quick. It's not going to be quick. If anyone knows me, it's never quick. I ramble. It's going to be just a discussion over how the season's going. Like we've got 4 of the coaches here out of the 10 who are participating, and it's just basically to recap the first 4 weeks. Like it's only a short season, 7 weeks long. We're over the halfway point now, and on looking for the final stretch. So yeah, what's your thoughts, guys, on how the season's been going so far?
As a whole, they're pretty good. Like,
Yeah, just
fun games, competitive.
It's been really fun with it's brand new to all of us, isn't it? It's like many of us, it's our first draft league in Gen 9.
Yeah, so using Terra is new to a lot of us. Everyone, I guess.
Something else that's been really fun is like it's not, I wouldn't say like it's been a content driven league, but it's been nice that there's been lots of content coming out from it. Like nearly every match is recorded to some capacity, so that's been really fun. I know all 4 of us record matches. We've got different styles here. We've got myself and Gert who just do recordings. We've got Batista who does the post-com analysis of his videos. And then we've got Miss Mag who does live streaming. So yeah, it's real selection of content types coming out.
Yeah, pretty cool.
Batista or Miss Mag, anything to add about the season as a experience as a whole?
I definitely really like just kind of the size. Nice, like kind of every match you get to watch and not, you don't feel like you're overwhelmed by too many matches. So you get to kind of follow everyone. You get to, you like kind of understand everyone's team, and you get to like really get to learn everyone's play style through the season.
Yeah, almost like it's a real sense of community that we've built here.
I was going to say as well, like the vibe, like everyone each other pretty well for the most part, I think. Mm-hmm. So it's pretty chill, and there's never going to be any like scheduling issues and what have you. Yeah. Unless you're playing Matrix.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. Yeah. No, it's been really cool. Like I remember, I know waffling on a little bit, but like just seeing today, like there's some matchups already getting scheduled for later on in the week, and like just schedule say Sunday. I think it was you and Tyler. Batista, and it's like Sunday, yeah, okay, brilliant, and like there's no issues, so it's really nice just having a small knit amount of people, just generating the content and having real good fun with it. So let's do a dive into the teams and how their seasons have been going so far. So we'll start off with, I should run on this page beforehand, but yeah, these are all the teams that are playing. We'll start off with the Somerville Scraggy, which have just gained their first win this last week.
Yeah, that's a cool thing that everyone's on the board now. You love to see it.
Yeah, so the Scraggies, they were the only team up to this point who, entering week 4, had not yet gained a win. Who did they play this week?
Tom, I think, right? Yeah.
They played Atletico de Mawal and Tom Elvis. So yeah, he managed to. Scraggies finally got themselves a win on the board. What is your guys' opinions on how the Scraggy season's been so far?
Honestly, I think Tyler kind of hasn't really been himself so far. Like I think he played well versus Tom, but it was like a pretty basic game. There wasn't like any massive text or anything. You know what I mean? It was just like positioning, I guess.
Yeah.
But Tyler talks a lot about spice, and I don't think he's brought enough spice yet.
Yeah, I kind of feel you with that. Like he's got the Indeed Drift Bloom, and he's lent on that a little bit in a few weeks now, just to do like the basic unburden unburden boosting speed type thing. But he's got all these other cool mons and modes. Like I know he's got like the High Dragon and S Pather, and yet hasn't really utilized the Luminous Crash with the High Dragon yet and the speed boost.
Yeah.
He hasn't really done much with the Mouse Hold, Mudsdale,
That was the things I was really afraid of when I played in week 1, like the mouse hold, and it didn't even come, and I was like, well, that's a like weight off my shoulders. But yeah.
Has anyone here played him yet? Yeah, you played him. Is it one of you, Batista or Miss Mag?
So I actually play Tyler this upcoming week, so I'm definitely interested to see what they end up doing for me. But I kind of agree, like they normally have done historically some of the craziest techs, and they haven't done anything that has blown me away prep wise. But I do think their team's really good with the the terrain with Unburdened Mon, follow me / friend guard support, and then just massive damage output.
I completely forgot it had friend guard. I'm just so zoned in all the time that it's technician population bomb.
Yeah.
I played him a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, I agree. Him is very frightening. Like the Mousehold and the Indeedee Drifloon, which we spoke about, the Hydreigon. Sleeper in the Espathra, the Ostrich Pokemon. That thing probably was the most terrifying thing I had to deal with in prep. But it came like I had to deal with. I think I was the first person he actually fielded Mousehold and Espathra against. Lucky me. But it was like the Espathra set was kind of cool. It was like trick speed boost, I think, just to like get a Rocky Helmet off so Mousehold wouldn't basically KO itself. But I do agree on the whole. He hasn't brought like the Tyler level of spice that we kind of known him for in other leagues.
Yeah, I think it might just be that adjustment into the new generation. There's a lot more things to consider. But even though Tyler is spicy independent of the formats usually, so I can appreciate that. The Mousehold, though, is something I find really interesting. Like, obviously it's quite a not quite a format defining mon, but it's annoying if not given enough respect. And I feel like everyone's been so well prepped for it that, like, we all know that Rocky Helmet kind of just destroys that type of thing. So, like, a really bulky defensive mon switches in. And I think the Scraggies are trying to have found it a little bit hard to try and find the right place to field that type of tech.
Yeah, I can understand it though. Like when you've got something like say polarizing, you prep for it, and then that prep kind of just cancels it to an extent. Like we'll probably get onto it when we get to another team, but like things like Mousehold and Moongus, like you can do things to really just like null and void it.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing. So it might be just Scraggy's trying to just find his footing a little bit as to what he wants to do with the team. I'm really hoping that we can see some really cool plays from like even Heracross. Like I really like Heracross, so it'd be really cool if you can get some Heracross action in there. Maybe even like Pin Missile into who knows, Pin Missile into Mudstale, get its defense up without doing too much damage. I don't know, something. But the Scraggies aren't completely out of it just yet. Them getting that win allows them that chance, as there is a 6 places up for grabs for the playoffs. So only 4 people miss out. I think 1 and 4 really you'd be on your. Basically, he kind of has to win out from here, as do a few other teams. But he's not out with a chance. He's not without a chance yet.
All right.
Okay, so moving on from the Scraggies, we have got the Cardiff Kamalas. So it's as you can see straight away, he's very like physical, sand based. He's got that tip out on it and the Houndstone. Something that's kind of interesting with Kamalas is that he's one of the few coaches so far to actually utilize quite a few trades at the midway point of the season. I feel like he was getting overly prepped for on the physical side in the first few weeks. And I know, Batista, you faced him at the start. So, like, if you want to share your thoughts on how the Kamalas have been going this far.
Well, yeah, so before they made their trades, they didn't have Lucario or Rotom or Wigglytuff, and all of those Pokemon were basically all physical attackers on top of that. So basically, their only real special attacker was Hypno for a while. And so I was able to kind of make them have incredible difficulties breaking through my team by just having exclusively investing max defense in every one of my Pokemon. Literally all 6 of them just had 252 EVs in defense with a beneficial defense nature, and they just couldn't break through the team. I think since then, their changes on their team have made that a lot harder to deal with, and now they kind of have a little bit more, diversity in physical and special attackers, and in addition, they had what they, you kind of see in the top two Pokemon, fast, really big damage in physical attackers, and the Sand mode on top of it. And so I think they kind of maybe in an oversight in draft that I think they definitely should hopefully resolved and maybe have a pretty good rest of the season.
Yeah, and there's something to be said though with this generation. I feel like there's a big hole where a lot of special attackers just aren't able to fill. Like we're just missing a huge variety of special attackers this gen. It seems to be that there's a lot of high tier, high offensive physical mons, but so when I'm doing other drafts here and there, it's always a case of I need a special mon, and I feel like going in a little bit blind to this, the Kamalas just maybe not have been fully aware, and then they're filling all these type cores out and stuff, and then they soon find themselves with a position where, oh, I'm all heavily invested in the physical side. What do I do if I just get walled now?
Yeah, I kind of agree. I think that the trades that Cal has made are healthy for the team. I also know he's like kind of struggling to field Palafin a little bit. Like he's not confident using it because of the ability trying to get it in and out is tough when you've got not. I guess you've got Hippo and Tauros, but it's not like the bulkiest switch-ins. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's also really difficult to. It's definitely a higher skill mon, I would say, because you when you're feeling it, your opponent knows instantly the damage isn't going to be there straight away, and that you're going to be looking for opportunities to switch it out so that it can come back in the end game. And that already means that you're going to be revealing your third mon quite early on than what you'd rather want to. So your opponent has this deeper understanding of, or extra bit of knowledge to the team. Like they're not having to always guess, well, what's in the back? What's in the back? It's always going to be a knowledge of at least 3 mons. So that also plays into like field position and stuff, and makes certain flow charting of game plans a little bit easier. But that's not to say that facing Palafin is easy. It's not easy by any means. It's still a very strong and very tough mon to face.
Yep. As I'm finding with prep this week.
Yeah, you've. I don't think Miss Max faced the Kamalas yet, have you?
Nah, they're my last week.
Yeah.
7.
Wherefore myself and Batista have faced them. I just faced them this week. I actually faced them, the only team to have faced them with the trades, and I definitely found it a lot more challenging to prep for them this last week after they made the trades, because I'd already started making plans for them before the trades. Then they gained a few more special attackers, and I actually found like the Rotom and stuff to be a little bit challenging, especially if you went a little bit more hard offense with the Rotom. Luckily, like I managed to get a good win against them, get some good positioning and stuff. But the team is definitely better with the improvements, and they did manage to get themselves a win, I think, in week 3 or week 2.
Yeah, pretty nice winning. The Beedrills, I think. Brian?
Yes.
Yeah, they beat Brian in
Yep,
week 3.
Beatles.
That's correct. Which is the other Sand team, funny enough.
Oh yeah.
But having faced them already, like obviously you've got to face them this week, Gert. So like, any major thoughts coming to your mind about it?
I don't know. I know Kel pretty well. We prepped with each other a lot. I think that's like a real dynamic in our matchup. I think.
I feel like it's a real big dynamic in most of the matchups here in WDC. Like we all know each other fairly well. Obviously, some more than others. So we've always got that friendly rivalry or friendly, friend versus friend type of matchup always happening.
Yeah, true enough. I think that makes like some reads harder because I know that they know that I know. So should I? You know what I mean? Like when those kind of 50-50s come in, just because you know each other so well, it makes it a lot harder.
It makes it so much more tense, though. It's more exhilarating, especially from a viewing point. If you are aware of the relationship that the coaches have, it makes it so much more interesting, and it's like it's such a thrill to watch.
But yeah, Cal's actually beaten me on more occasions than I've beaten him, so this should be a good game.
Okay. And Miss Mag, any thoughts from you? I know this matchup is far away from you. You could be deciding their fate in this season if they manage to pull out a win after win from here.
Well, I gotta say, I've looked at this team for a while, and it actually influenced some of the trades I made recently, but we'll get to that in a moment. I like the trades that he made. I think acknowledging that he had an over reliance on those physical mons inspired him to pick up the Fridge Tom and the Wigglytuff. But I'll say that I've always thought the team had like a really cool identity, this like sand room kind of mode, even though I don't think Hypno is the best trick room setter, but you just got to go with what you got.
Yeah, I appreciate the Hypno's at least a fairly decent budget tier 4 pick. Like for a tier 4, it still provides pretty good value, like inner focus. It's got decent defenses. It's a good like slow screen setter, and in my opinion, the best moves for it to run not even stab. It's literally Dazzling Gleam, Nightshade, and Foul Play. But that's a conversation for another day. So yeah, that's the state of the Cardiff Kamalas at the moment. 1-3, they're doing all right. They do have to try and make a comeback these next few weeks if they want a chance at getting playoffs. But obviously, you'll be seeing to that they don't. And you're hopeful.
Hopefully, yeah.
So we'll move on from the Kamalas now, and we'll have a look at the takeover team, Rebellion. So originally we did have Misenko. He had a slight in real life occurrence happen, and he had to drop from the league for a uncertain amount of time. And during that time, Rebellion and Lucian Flash has taken over. He has not made a single change to this team, and he took over the team in week 3, just as I was playing them. I actually had a really good game against them, or at least I felt like I did. So has anyone else played Lucian here? I don't think they have.
No, it's not on my
I play
schedule.
him tomorrow.
Oh, you're playing him tomorrow, are you, for week 5?
Yes, sir.
Oh, that's kind of exciting. So when it was Misenko's team, I suppose we can talk a little bit about the team, and from Misenko's draft, and then I'll go on to explain how I felt about it going into the match. So, anyone's got any opinions on the team itself?
It's a pretty scary team on face value, I think.
I hate it. It's so terrifying.
Like the psychic terrain mode alone, the Flashbang Fire mode, like
that lava plume, yeah,
and then just some good power out and about there with King Gambit, Toxtricity.
Yes, especially with the hidden fact that now that Toxtricity can get that boom burst. So like, it's a cool little piece of tech that's been running around a bit in Series 1, and Terra Normal, boom burst, Toxtricity next to here. It can be next to Mischievous, but more likely here it'll be next
to
Telepathy Noiva. Exactly. Something that I noticed with this team, he's also, by the way, another mode he's got here is that anger point with the Kragonal, so and the Taurus. But something that I noticed when prepping for this team, it's really, really frustrating trying to prep for the expanding force mode with the Armor Rouge. And obviously, Armor Rouge is like I think the only one with expanding force this gen. It's trying to prep for that whilst prepping for the Dockspun with the like well baked body and body press shenanigans, and then it's all well and good prepping for those, but then you've also got to prep for the force that is King Gambit.
Yeah.
Nearly any defensive plays you can make into the psychic terrain or into the Dockspun or into the Tauros, it gets almost countered just solely by King Gambit being a thing.
Yeah, tough. I've not really prepped for this team at all because we're not on my schedule, so I haven't really given it much of a look. But yeah, that does sound tough.
Yeah, how are you finding it, Miss Mag? You were saying that you're prepping for it for tomorrow. So, like, what's your opinions other than it's scary?
I am not prepped for the tomorrow. It is a scary team with 4 very defining modes, as you have said, with the Science Band mode with the E-Force and the Doggo mode with the Lava Plume, the Telepathy Boom Burst mode. Like, there's just so many things that this team can do, which is making prep very frustrating for me. And it's like there's no one mon that can cover you on all 4 of those modes. It's like pretty impossible because they all require different answers. And then King Gambit just comes in late game and kind of just picks off what's left of your team. And then there's this 5th mode that this team has that no one really gets to like talk about because you're so distracted by the 4 other combos. This team has really good Trick Room mode. Like it has 4 Trick Room setters, and they're all quite difficult to remove under the right circumstances. And then King Gambit is super slow and is happy to sweep under Trick Room. So I mean, I really like the team that Mazenko has drafted. Fun fact: it also doesn't have many weak points, either in base stat totals or even on the type chart. It's pretty neutral to pretty much everything. So yeah, go team.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Yeah, he's got a well-rounded team, and obviously it's not actually Masenko who's piloting it at this moment in time. It is Lucian, and they are 2 almost polar opposite type of players. However, what Lucian appreciates about this team, at least I believe, is that he's done a lot of, like, I remember early Series 1 stuff, he would be using like Scarf Armories with the Expanding Force, and where a lot of people would be expecting, like, I don't know, Trick Room with a Slow Armor Rouge and like setting up Trick Room that way, or and going for it with playing it slow. No, players like Lucian like to tend to go for like just hyper offense out the gate, whether they're slow, whether they're fast mons. That's what he ends up doing. And there was a really cool tech that Misenko ran, I think, week 1 with the Noivern with the U-turn into a Terra Psychic Armor Rouge or something, getting the weakness policy off with the
Weak armor.
yeah, and then bringing in the Indeedee. So there's a lot of inherent synergy that this team has, to allow it to just play free roam and open, and just like really upfront pressure as well as having a lot of defensive pressure. There's not really too much to say other than that. The only win that the team's got so far was from when Misenko was piloting. Lucian is yet to pick up a win with the team. Any final remarks that you might have about the team from you, Batista?
Not much. I just think, like y'all said, I think the impressive part of this team is that it's highly synergic. It's highly synergistic, despite that it has incredibly solo Pokemon. Just all the Pokemon are generically good, on top of having synergies within the team itself, which is definitely an impressive thing on the team. So I'm definitely expecting Rebellion to be able to get some wins in the later matches. I'm sure they didn't prep too much for the week 3 match, since they kind of got
12 hours, whatever it was.
Yeah.
They got tossed in there.
Yeah. So then so we'll see them, and I'm excited to see what they end up doing.
Yeah, and as I say, this is another team, 1 of the 3. This next week does not depend. It does determine how they might end the season, but hopefully the RNG isn't too bad for you, Lucian.
Okay. I make no promises on that.
All right.
You used all your on me last week in that game too.
We'll see.
Okay, so we move on now to team number 4. Funny enough, there we go, Miss Mag. It is your Miss Magical Marauders. I feel like if anyone should talk about their team and how they're feeling with their seasons going, it should probably be you.
I mean, like I like my team. I've gone a little up and down with my team. I've had a lot of close games this season. I have not been too owed in any of my losses, which is good. So I know like there's a lot of core stuff in the draft, and a lot more is just like play and probably just adjusting to this new generation. However, I had to make some trades because there were just a couple of mons that I was not really kind of connecting with. Usually by midseason in every league I'm in, I like to assess whether or not I'm using every member to the fullest potential, because otherwise it's just kind of like having dead weight, and that actually makes it easier for people to prep for if they pay attention. So I got Gallade and Golduck, who are new to this week, and yeah, I like the team. I think it has some cool tricks. A lot of nice synergies here.
Yeah, I haven't actually played you yet, but I believe Batista has.
And
And Gert.
Oh, you both played, of course. I've completely. You both played them, haven't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, we both played them, and both of the matches were really close 3-game sets in which we both beat Miss Meg.
Golduck's eyes.
Sorry.
What's going on with Golduck's eyes? Looks evil.
Oh yeah, no, it's just the way the the picture's been like cropped and the background removed, and then the eyes got removed. I did notice, but oh well.
Yeah, I mean, having just prepped for this team, I like a few things I noticed straight away was like Klefki and Amungus were just like the real like I think they're the control glue to this team. Like I think you always assume that at least one of them's going to come each week, and for me it was both. And they demand like a certain amount of prep, but then so does Azumarill, so does like even like Avalug, the like D tier. Like if you don't bring sufficient special attackers, that can really just like end game you.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of good pieces on the team that demand the prep, and then some other things can catch you. So like I didn't totally expect like Wailord to come versus me or the Polity guys, but then I had to. I brought Mirror Herb. I don't know if people do that when they see Polity guys, but I did. And yeah, I think it's a good team. And like Azu and Garchomp are always hella scary.
Yeah, they are.
I think.
Well, yeah, I think one of the big strengths of the team is that Miss Meg has a lot of like very powerful Pokemon, but almost all of his powerful Pokemon also have very good setup moves, and so if you give them any turn to just in which you're switching out or you attack a partner Pokemon, they could get like a belly drum off or a shell smash up or a sword stance off, and they also have redirection support in order to get those up, and all that like just kind of makes them be able to easily snowball if you don't prep for that possibility and have a clean answer to them. I was a little bit lucky since I had multiple unaware mons, so Miss Mag didn't really have the ability to set up on me per se, and so I think that's but that's kind of one of the strengths of their team is like Garchomp is really powerful, but also it has sword stance and so on.
Yeah. Something I found about the team, and I'm yet to play them. But there's I'd say there's two major points to how Miss Mag's season's gone so far with the 1-3. What I've really liked and really appreciated is some of the creativity in some of the sets. Like the Pyro, I saw them use a throat spray set with Hyper Voice and Snarl earlier on in the season. I thought that was a really cool item choice for it and a really cool way to like enable a little bit of offensive pressure whilst just being there to disrupt at the same time. I've also really liked the Amoonguss, like and there's two sides to this about the Amoonguss. I've really liked how they've used the Amoonguss in the different matches. It's never been the same type of Amoonguss. They've brought a Toxic Storm Amoonguss one week, and that was against you, Batista, and that actually led to them getting their set win against you, which was crucial. So they managed to take that game 2 against you. And I mean, the Amoonguss managed to 1v1 a Skeledirge, or however you want to pronounce it, which yes, admittedly, it did get a little bit of help from the Jolteon debuff at the very start, but it's still an impressive feat nonetheless. And then you've used it differently in other weeks, and I just
sorry to interrupt. I like the Dark Tower in front of B&DD versus Tyler, I think it was. Is that right?
Yeah, that was Tyler.
And then just forced in the Rage Powder and the Psychic attacks into the Dark Tower was cool.
Yeah. And that was the only win you've got so far, isn't it?
Yep, I've only beaten Scraggy so far.
Exactly. So some really creative plays and stuff is what's led you to either a set win here or there, or an actual win, which has been really good. The only downside I'd say about this whole team so far is maybe the over reliance on a couple of these mons, like the Klefki not so much, but the Amoonguss for sure. Maybe a little bit too much relying on it and allowing your opponent to get almost fully counter like what we saw this week.
Yeah, no, 100%. And like it took the thrashing from Gert this week to make me realize that I had been literally bringing it to matches that I could have easily subbed it out for on. Sometimes it's just the acknowledgement that like a lot of these almost every mon on this team is a serious threat, irrelevant of the synergy that they have together. And I think I haven't been fully utilizing that to the best of my ability. I didn't even consider that you might have thought Avalug was a threat versus Ugart, and it never even crossed my mind to bring that against you because you have so many strong special attackers.
Right.
So it's nice. I always love teams that give me lots of options, so I don't feel pigeonholed into like making something work every week. And I think that's one of the strengths that allows me to be so creative. But at the same time, like I also have to remember that just as I like to be creative, my opponents are also equally allowed to be creative to get around some of the more common things like Rage Powder or Spore.
Fair.
But yeah, no, and from there, we hope that you somehow get yourself a nice win on the board in the next few weeks. Again, this, as I say, these 4 teams at the bottom here, they all have a chance, but it's going to have to be a win or winning in type of thing.
I will say though, just before we move on for my team, my actual favorite Pokemon that I've used this season, surprise you, but it's actually Jolteon.
Yeah,
Never dropped it
used
before.
Jolteon.
It's so much fun.
I remember you had that Terraflying Jolteon. I think it was against 2 weeks you've brought Terraflying Jolteon.
2 weeks, yeah.
So yeah, with anything, I don't think there's anything else to say here. We'll move on to the 5th team, and the start with the Charlotte Beedrills. So our first 2-2 team. Anyone want to start on their opinions?
Yeah, I quite liked how Brian's been using the team. He's brought some cool modes so far, like not just like the sand mode, but then the Wug Trio, Palossand, Water Compaction. Is that versus you?
Yeah, that was against me. That was.
Yeah, I mean it was cool. I think it was like semi effective because he took a game against you, didn't he?
Yeah, that lead, I remember seeing it, like the combination, just as I'd already selected my mons into the match, and I went, I don't think I've respected that lead enough, and yeah, I didn't.
Yeah, and like he's utilized Tyranitar so well. I think it's the current kill leader, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not got a fully mapped out kill leaderboard, but I think it's got like over 15 kills. So,
Yeah, I've been keeping tabs on it.
But many of those have come from like Sandchip kills as well, and I always find like Sandchip is a good way to like up the kill count of those type of mons.
Yeah, true enough. But yeah, also like I love Frostmoth. Frostmoth's like one of my favorite ones, and like with Terra, like being able to get rid of those 2 4-times weaknesses is a really cool thing to do. I'm not really sure how often they've used that yet.
I just want to point out, I think this is a team that we overlook, but I'm pretty sure he's made trades and he doesn't have the Trick Room mode anymore.
I was gonna say that, yeah. He made 3 trades.
What's dropped?
So they dropped Bronzong for Staraptor, Palossand for Espeon, and then they dropped Frostmoth for Phalanx.
Ooh,
very
crazy.
So yeah, sorry about that, Brian. It was a complete mistake on my end, not checking it beforehand. So we haven't got the fully up to date team. I don't think Brian's used the new. Oh, he used the new team with the Staraptor this last week. So my apologies there. But yeah, no, as you say, like he's got those 2 pseudos at the top as well, like Dragonite and Tyranitar, and both like command a certain level of respect. The Sylveon is also a really annoying mon to try and prep for. Has anyone else played him, or has it just been me?
I played him. He was my very first match actually of this league.
Hear your thoughts.
Well, actually, it's kind of funny because the graphic is staying this way because this is the team that I actually had to prep for. This was really annoying to prep for because it's very similar to the match I have versus Rebellion. Like, there's just a lot of modes on this team. There's another strong TR component in like the Bronzong, the Palossand, even T-Tar. You have the Palossand compaction stuff, the sand stuff. So like, I kind of went into this, and this is like the first draft league of Gen 9 for me. So I kind of went in assuming he would be like pretty basic, like he would lean on very obvious modes. But T-Tar, man, T-Tar is a pain because it has all that bulk, and then it can be run so flexibly with many different Terra types. I think that ended up getting the jump on me just a little bit. But it was a close set. Came down to him actually critting a rock slide on my Terra Rock Avalug through Reflect, and that kind of just sealed the deal for me. But it was a good way to start off the season. Rock slide, best move.
Yeah. What I've noticed when I was prepping for this team, I know he's removed it now, but the Bronzong was one of the biggest threats to, in my opinion. Like, I really didn't want to face it. However, I know Brian has tried to utilize his Trick Room mode, and this is again why he's ended up swapping it out. He's now going to try and focus on denying the Trick Room rather than playing inside of it, as he feels like it's not really his type of play style. He likes to play a little bit more of a controlled on the faster side of the scale and a little bit more pivoting and stuff, which is why we're seeing a lot of like eject pack Salazzles with overheats. So you can go for fake outs, get the eject pack from an overheat, and then reposition Salazzle again later on. If it's not in a position where it's going to get KO'd, or it overheats and then swaps out on the incoming attack, which is really good and really well paired with like mons like Dragonite with a little bit of bulk. With the new pickups, he's got the Staraptor and Espeon. He's increased that base speed of his entire team. Again, as I'm saying, like he likes to play a little bit more of a fast-paced with his mons, but not so much like hyper offense. So I think he's in a really good position at the moment, 2-2. Any more thoughts?
No, I kind of like his use of Electros.
Yes, that Electros game was really good. I think it was just this last week versus Valiant's team. Yeah, that was a really good match.
I like to see that one getting some spotlights.
Yeah. It's a shame they Sourcebook. I remember him having that Triscarf Sourcebook into one match, and that was a real shame that we didn't get to see a little bit more from that.
I will say though that they've definitely brought spicy sets pretty much every single week, and most of them have done really good stuff. You know, even in the matches they didn't win, like I think we talked about it with the Wug Trio activating water compression against U Matrix. They that was really cool to protect. They had like we said, like the choice band stuff. They have the Electro set was really nice. I've definitely been enjoying like just kind of some of their prep decisions.
Yeah, and what I found about that is that it's spice, but it's not over the top. It's just like nice little touches here and there. Like just niche picks, niche move sets, or just something that just makes it stand out a little bit more than what the like a really standard set would have. So it's not been over the top crazy, but it's been like safe spice. So really solid in the middle, and consistent, and that's why the Tyranitar we're seeing getting so many kills. It's just staying there, allowing itself to get a lot of damage on the board, and yeah, that's not much more I can say to that.
Yeah, nothing else to say.
Well, I'm definitely curious to see what just how some of their changes or their team changes are gonna affect them. Like I said, like we immediately saw Staraptor come. But I'm definitely excited to see, kind of some of the other changes, see how they, how it affects their, team as a whole.
Yeah, no, I agree. No, I presume none of us face him this week, so I can only imagine he plays someone like not AJ because I play that. Tom, yeah, Tom or Tyler, whoever it is.
Tom.
Fair enough then. Okay, so from here we can move on to our next 2-2 team, which is Tom, the Atletico de Mawal. They had a really good start to the season. They won their first 2 games, if I'm not mistaken, and they have just lost their last 2.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, they beat the 2 of y'all.
Yes, started off and beat both me and Gert, and then went on to play. I don't remember off the top of my head, but
Batista and Tyler.
Batista then Tyler. Yes, all 3 of us. Not you, Miss Mag. Sorry, excluding you. Us 3 have all already faced him. So, good. Do you want to have your opinions on how the Mawal season has gone so far?
Yeah, I don't really know. I feel it's a little bit inconsistent, I guess. Obviously, 2 wings felt very strong. He was looking like really, really good after the first 2 weeks, and then took 2 L's, so it's like back in the mixer, I guess. But as far as the team goes, like when I was playing it, I wasn't too worried about the rain mode too much. I do have storm during tactics area, so that is like a reason to not be too worried about it. But obviously the Grimstar just like demands a lot of prep, and for me it was about denying Trick Room.
Yeah.
And that was my downfall. Playing against Tom, allowing them to get Trick Room up cost me the game pretty much. There was a turn where I completely overread, and I pretty much had the game won. I completely overread, didn't attack and kill the hat, and then I got Trick Room up, and then I think it was Copperaja and Muck just destroyed me in Trick Room.
Yeah, and that's something that's kind of interesting about this team is that he's got a decently strong Trick Room core in just Hat and Copperaja. Like Copperaja's got a really good offensive presence in the field. So does Hat if he can get the Trick Room up. He does have Gengar as a alternative option, which I believe he has tried to run at one point.
I think this week he did, yeah.
Yeah, where it just as like a surprise tech. But he's also got on the flip scale a decent fast mode. He's got that Pelipper Dreadnought combination. And when I was facing it, I was a little bit more worried about the faster rain mode than I was about the slower Trick Room team. And even though I had like the Bramblegas and the Kilowattrel to face it, I was really worried about like a Sash Pelipper. And again, like my team against him in week 1, it was my first introduction to Gen 9 draft, and I kind of over predicted a few times, overplayed myself a little bit too much. The Grimmsnarl, I feel like the Grimmsnarl's been really good in those like the first 2 weeks, I think, setting screens or just being really annoying, and really helping the rest of the team be enabled. What I find interesting about this team is that there's quite a few priority options, you know?
Yeah. Scizor, Breloom.
Scizor, Breloom, Grimmsnarl, so they're all really kind of scary on that front. And I think Batista, like, you managed to navigate this team pretty well because of, well, you've got the Firigraph for one. What's your thoughts about how going into that match?
So I think their team is very scary in the fact that they immediately put you under pressure off the bat with the combination of the rain mode and Spore from the Rayloam, and then they also have that really strong Trick Room mode, and so like their speed tiering is pretty much unparalleled because of that. In addition to having this prankster's Grimmsnarl. So it's like basically the only way in which I, kind of feel like you can consistently beat them is just basically being able to bulk through certain things, and that's kind of how I had to go through it. Was just say like try to outbulk these Pokemon and finish them on the back, because even though they have a lot of like offense, speed control stuff, most of their Pokemon are either not particularly bulky, have a 4 times weakness, or something like that.
Mm-hmm. I remember, yeah, like as I say, as you were saying, like they have a really good way of like preserving their own bulk with the Grimmsnarl, just having screens and stuff. And just to throw back to my match versus them, I remember the Gengar being behind a light screen and taking so many hits that I couldn't break through their team quick enough or well enough. Something I do find interesting is they've got the Breloom, and yet they haven't lent into one of its strongest strengths, which is having that fast upfront spore pressure, which is kind of a bit of a contrast to how you've been playing your mushroom, Miss Mag, and like I know you've not been using spore or as much, but you've fielded it a lot of times. Where if I feel like Tom hasn't really fielded the Breloom all that often, but he has been making hella use of the Grimmsnarl. And I feel like there's an important note that all of us have about that Grimmsnarl and how it's been used. But especially like he's been very reckless, maybe is the correct word, with the Grimmsnarl.
Yeah.
That's a nice way of putting it.
Yeah, I feel like that's probably the best way to say it. Ballsy is another.
Go on. Yeah. You have to talk about the parting shot into a possible Defiant Mon and a parting shot into a possible clear body Mon and a fake out with psychic terrain up.
Yeah.
Definitely they've been a little bit a little bit old with their Grimsnarl.
Yeah, bold is possibly the right term as well. Yeah, going for the I mean, is in the balloon being there has really helped, like as well in the Grimsnarl's screens options. Obviously, because of week one, I went Vital Spirit, and then he went for parting shot, just disregarding the possibility of a Defiant there, which would have been decent positioning for me. He disregarded the fact that there would be a clear body, but it was more of a bold prediction that it would be infiltrated for the screens based on how it did in the week one, and then went on from there. Where for this last week, there's no excuse for that one. Fake out into the psychic terrain on the into Indeedee on psychic terrain was rather funny. I'm not going to lie.
Anything else?
Unless Miss Mag's got anything to contribute as an outsider from not playing this team.
Yeah, I mean, I like his team. He's the only other person that has kind of drafted no new Paldean Mons like myself. That's kind of like our little running theme.
True.
But yeah, I really like some of those bottom row, like the Muck, the Gengar. I've seen some good stuff out of. I've actually been surprised that Scissor hasn't been more of a force for him, honestly. Scissor on Rain is just like typically pretty dreadful to have to prep for. So, I'd be curious to see how Scissor survives the rest of this day.
Yeah. I'm less excited about that Beartic. I'm not going to lie, I don't really like Beartic that much, but that's besides the point. So yeah, that's Tom's season so far. He's started off strong. Hopefully, he can return back to full strength. Do you play him this season, Miss Mag?
Nope, he's one of the two people I don't play.
Okay, so he's already played the other three of us. So yeah, good on you. Let's see a return to winning form. Doesn't impact any of us. Right, moving on, we have got the Merseyside Marowaks, another 2-2 team. They are another team that started really strong. 2 opening wins and undefeated at that in their first 2 matches. I don't remember who he played.
Played Masenko
Mm-hmm.
week 1. I remember that.
And Tyler week 2.
And Tyler week 2. Okay, so yeah, he's played those 2 at the start, and then he's taken 2 recent losses. I'm pretty sure one of you 2 played him.
Both of us.
Both of us.
Oh, it was both of you. It was both of you who take who have destroyed his winning run.
Yeah.
Yep, I'm excluded from this one again.
So I played him first, I think. MVP stuff. He's made a lot of trades since he played me, I think.
Yeah, he's been very trigger happy on the old trade button, hasn't he? And a lot of times it's been the same mon. He's just been swapping in and out.
Yeah, so for me, there was obviously like the Goldingo Murkrow. Like we've seen it do very well in like just Series 1 VGC. Yeah. So having to prep for that was a bit of a nightmare. The Prankster, Murkrow, and Tailwind and things, and also Haze, because like you couldn't set up on this team because Prankster Haze can just cancel that. Yes. But and also the Trick Room made with Oranguru. He had Ursaring versus me. But he decided to Terra turn 1 in both games, which I think helped me out quite a bit with like handling the rest of the team. Like I know it couldn't Terra, so that was kind of how I managed to beat him.
Yeah, it's been interesting seeing the different ways people have implemented Terra. Like obviously there's the Unga Bunga go for a Terra, try and get some damage up, or straight away, like we've seen in your match, Batista. Or we've seen a few defensive Terras like the Marowaks did to try and get that Terra Fairy to try and avoid that close combat or from the Pawmot whilst they try to set up a sword stance. However, I do think it was in the best interest to try and get Trick Room up to get the speed control alongside that.
Yeah, I mean, I had the Gargantuar, which obviously started his entire team as well, which was tough for him, but with a sword up on the Ursaring and Terra Fairy, yep. I could have body pressed it, so It was doing a massive amount of damage to me, but luckily Garg took a +2 high horsepower pretty handily off of the Ursaring.
Yeah.
And Ursaring just didn't quite have the output to manage to like sweep within Trick Room. Even though he didn't get it up, that was a bit of a weird decision, I think. But yeah.
And what about yourself, Batista? You've obviously faced them already and won. So, what's your opinions on it?
Well, like their team is just really scary with a lot of the like Goldango immediately puts a major threat onto any one its team. Especially with speed control options like Tailwind from Murkrow, and so I definitely very concerning of this. I definitely think I was able to kind of mitigate it reasonably well with just kind of bringing stuff they weren't quite expecting and just having big damage output.
Yeah.
And then I kind of was able to read them very well because I know I completely guessed what they were going to do game one, and then I adjusted game two with my expectations of what they were going to adjust, and kind of ended up being like that. I do think that their team is really powerful with just good defensive typings on their Pokemon too.
Yeah. He's definitely been leaning a little bit more into the defensive Terra typings. Like we've seen Terra Fire on the Crocodile to try and take some hits, Terra Water on the Crocodile. We've seen Terra Dragon on the Goldango. We've seen Terra Fairy on the Ursaring when he had it. So he's definitely been trying to use Terra as a more of a defensive tool rather than on an offensive tool, but that might change this upcoming week. Who knows? I did find it I did find it very interesting that he brought the anger point strategy with the Crocodile versus yourself, who has those 3 unaware mons. But what I did like about it is that he acknowledged that and was more trying to take out the support to the unaware and then try and get a free switch in to get the Scovillain in and try and worry seed those unaware mons. Obviously, with him having a little bit more natural speed versus a team like yourself. So he's been running some really cool tech.
But yeah, I think our match definitely could easily have gone their way. They just kind of underestimated the strength of Bombardier on my team, basically.
Yeah. And the bulk of a Scarlet.
Yeah.
Obviously, I play the Marowaks this upcoming week, and I've started prepping for them a little bit. And you've got to really respect the Goldango mode. Like, we've already identified that, but it's not just the Goldango. Like, there's other really good supporting mons. And yeah, you can say Murkrow is, identify Murkrow and its supportive role, and for Frostlass, but that's forgetting to acknowledge the fact that there's a whole ass Rotom Wash there, which is so annoyingly bulky to deal with. And the fact that it can be Terra Electric and just remove its any of its weaknesses and do big damage, or it can just be really supportive with like Terra Grass or Terra Fairy, getting the Wisps up. It's a really frustrating team to try and prep. I really like the Oranguru and how he's been using it. I remember in the opening weeks he had a interesting nasty plot Oranguru, I think he had, which really had to make his opponent target the Oranguru down a little bit, which is kind of unique in that situation where usually it'd be happy to ignore Oranguru a bit because its damage output isn't always the best. And he also has like that pseudo trick room mode where pseudo Torkoal mode, should I say, where he's got an eruption mon next to the trick room Oranguru who can just sit there and instruct. So if he gets that off, it's pretty good too. So definitely a lot to prep for in this upcoming week as I try and extend my lead and deny the Marowaks a footing.
Yep.
Any final remarks, Miss Mag?
Yeah, I actually really like this team in terms of like its composition. I know he's made a lot of trades since the initial draft, but like he's got some of my favorite Paldean mons on there. I'm a big Scovillain fan. I think it's a really cool looking mon. As well as Goldango Murkrow is just dominated regular VGC. Sad I don't actually get to play him for myself unless he makes playoffs. So we'll have to see.
And you make playoffs.
Well, yeah, that's the thing too. We ain't talking about that.
So we'll see if the Marowaks can return this week and get a win. I would prefer that they didn't, personally. So yeah, we'll move on to myself. So yeah, I'm 3-1, the lowest of the 3-1 teams, but there's only 2 of us. I might as well just open up with how my opinions on the team. I haven't actually done a draft review, so I've not actually been able to share too much of my opinions. I really like this team. Like as a just as a team, it's been really fun. The Annihilate's just really strong. The Excalibur's provided a lot of good support. I fell in love with Stantler, to be honest. Yeah, no, so I'll be a little bit more specific rather than going over the teams, the individual mons. But I felt like at the start of my season was a little bit rocky, just from, or rather a little bit rusty. So I was a little bit rusty in the opening week, made some questionable plays and decisions. But I felt like it was a really good, not wake up call, but almost like I gained a lot of experience from that one match, and learned a lot in my building and my plays, and I feel like as the season's gone on so far, each week's built upon from the last and really improved the plays, implementing the game plans really well, and hopefully we continue doing so right up until the end. We'll see how that goes out, how that plays out for me in the upcoming few weeks. But I guess I haven't played any of the you guys here yet, so it's it's down to you guys now. Like, what are your opinions on the teams, on my team, and how my season's been?
I don't play you, but you do tend to like show me your sets before a game, and
I show everyone my sets.
yeah, I know. But like Annihilate, like we've talked a little bit about like some coaches who have leaned on ones. Like I feel like it's not a bad thing for your team, but Annihilate has just been like the core really of this team, I think, and because it's so hard to deal with, like the surprising bulk, and then obviously when you hit it, you just make it stronger, and people try and like focus it down, but then these other ones on the side, you can't just ignore them. Like Glamora has like a deceivingly high special attack stat, and when you ignore it, or like you've brought it Scarf a couple of times, it's just been like hitting things super hard. And then with the control you have alongside like the Tailwind, Kilowattrel, and Intimidate Stant there, it's quite a tough, like a lot of months to deal with. You don't know where to focus your efforts. Not really too much else to say. I think you played well outside of week 1.
Cheers. No, I appreciate that. Miss Mag, I know you like the team.
Yeah, I do think this is a very you team. I've known you for quite a little while now, and I appreciate teams that have a little bit more of a leaning, a little bit more bulky offense style with some good tools and pivots. I think you've also played that Annihilate pretty well. I agree. Great. It is a force, perfect coverage, and 3 really good abilities, and then Final Gambit on top of it with a very decent speed tier for it is just a headache, honestly, to prep for. And then like even your low tier picks are like really nice. Like I like the Fletchinder. I like how you've used it. Stantler is just a force, honestly, in the right matchup. Even Florgus has put in a good amount of work, and then it's kind of like rounded out with like the Excalibur, the Glamora, and the other heavy hitters. So you've assembled quite a strong squad here, my friend.
Batista, do you want to stroke my ego anymore?
I'm do the opposite. I think starting off week 1, you're basically like terrorization is terrible. I'm terrible at this game. I hate Pokemon, and I think
I have
you
a
have had a.
tendency to overreact.
So I think you've had a nice progression of like obviously like I can visually see it as you slowly became more comfortable with both the new Pokemon that exist. So you know are feel a little bit more like you understand what's going on, but also more comfortable with the new mechanic and just the game as a whole. And so you've kind of like each week it seems like you're a better understanding of what to expect, what's good, what's not good, what's like like a legitimate strategies and like ways to play around and or prep in advance for certain terror types that you definitely weren't as comfortable with, or maybe not as good with in the first couple weeks. And so I think you've definitely kind of slowly become from completely hating it, completely having no idea, like this is impossible, to like I think you kind of got it now, and you're doing pretty well. And then like obviously your tier ones are really terrifying. They're both really bulky, massive damage, and then you have great supporting Pokemon next to it with like Tailwind and double intimidate, possible trick room, multiple will-o-wisps, things like that.
Yeah, and to touch upon what you said about the tier ones, what I really like about them is the fact that one can't be burnt, the other can't be intimidated, and I just like I feel like the team is really deep with its synergy. Like I've got the Tailwind mode with Kilo or Fletchinder, which obviously Kilo really appreciates the Tailwind due to wind power. Wind Rider is another one, yeah, on the Bramblecast, which honestly, when I've brought the Bramblecast, it's been really fun to prep with and play. I feel like I just need to improve the play with. I've honestly fell in love with just Assault Vest Florigus. Like I don't mind saying like that. It's just got such good special defense, and like if I'm worried about a special attacker, I just bring AV Florigus and go, there you go, sit there, absorb the hits, and I'll do something else with another mon in the field. Like I think the team itself is like one of my most favorite teams I've ever drafted. It just feels really fun to prep with, and I really enjoy prepping and playing with it. I'd say there's possibly one mon I don't like on the team, which is the Slowbro, but I feel like I just need to find a good way to play it. So we'll be looking to do that over the next few weeks. I don't really want to draft to trade it out, so we'll see what we can do. One of my favorite moments from the season so far, and I think it's a testament to the fact that the flow charting went well, and that was with the Scarf Annihilate and the Flareon lead versus the Rebellion's Psychic Terrain mode, and kind of having a plan in place for a Scarf Armorer's Expanded Force to get the U-turn off into the Indeedee that switched in, to bring out my Boston for Dark type next to a Flareon with Terra Dark, Terrorizing, and then the Scarf Armor is going for Expanding Force. And to me, it wasn't overly impactful, but it also was. It was just nice to see like the difference between not having a game plan in week one or a very good one, and then a game plan that just went off so well in by week three even. So yeah, hopefully we progress and keep doing well. And that's my opinions on my team, and I think that's enough to talk about. We all good?
Yep.
Awesome.
Yep.
Okay, so moving on, we now have you, Gert.
Yo.
Do you want to give us your a quick initial assessment of how you felt your season's been?
Yeah, so far I've been quite happy with my play. I think even in my loss, I managed to take a game, so that helps with differential. And I my own worst enemy in my loss. I think I over predicted a turn that allowed Trick Room to get up,
Yeah.
and it allowed a game 3 to give information to Tom. Like in particular, it was the I had Will-O-Wisp his muck in game 1 or 2. I don't remember, but then by game 3, that information allowed him to Terra Fire in my face. I wasted a Will-O-Wisp and it just got a massive kill off on my tickets on turn 1, and I had just lost game 3 on turn 1 pretty much. But that could have really it's not fair to say like, oh, if I just stayed in attack I would have won 2-0, but like because game 2 could have gone differently had he lost game 1. But I feel like, yeah, like my loss was more like my own fault than my opponent's in a way, so I just felt I can tune up on that a bit more, and I'm pretty happy with how it's going.
Yeah, no, I've really enjoyed watching you this season with this team. It feels like you are really gelling with the mons on your team.
Honestly, I love Terra. I just love it. Like, I feel like it opens so many doors for me. Like, I do kind of like to play like a bulkier sets generally, I think, for the most part. But like being able to just change type, saying like, no, try and kill me. Like, I love it.
I feel like that speaks to your singles experience, where you like to reposition and stuff and get into a good position before hitting the accelerator. And like being able to change your draft type allows you to get into a position without having to swap your mon out.
Yeah.
And that's the way you've been able to utilize it. I've really enjoyed the pull mod on your team. That's been really good, and even the dancer mode. That's been really fun.
Yeah, Valkyrie is a beast with Terra. Like its one flaw really being its X4 weakness. Being able to remove that is just crazy for it.
Yeah.
I think in this mag in game 3, I like hid my Terra until game 3, and being able to just like Terra and eat the rock slides from the Garchomp really helped.
Yeah, I mean, and that wasn't even a resisted hit; it was just neutral. And just changing that 4 times weakness to a neutral hit was just, you saw how little damage it ended up doing in the end.
Yeah, and like I said about the pull mod, like I obviously drafted it with the intent of it being like support, like fake out nuzzle, revival blessing. Like I haven't picked revival blessing once. I've just been hitting things.
Yeah, it feels like this cross between a support and like glass cannon mon. So it's like a Raichu with like just way stronger
Actual offense.
Yeah. More presence on the field.
Yeah, I also kind of like with Volk and Guard. Like Guard demands a lot of prep, I think, and sometimes that prep is water moves, and then you've got the Tatsugiri there to help support the Volk and the Guard. And yeah, I've not really utilized my low tiers yet. I've tried Persian, didn't do too well for me. I did bring Grumpig against this mag, and it was kind of a failsafe if but the physical ones were getting really out of hand. I had like Trick Flame Orb, but I didn't end up using it. So I do feel like I have just like not touched them yet. But this time,
I've got a question. As one of the 2 players who's drafted the Tatsu Donzo core, but only one half of it, how have you found using Tatsugiri so far?
Which, as in just one of them?
Just in general, like how have you found it?
Yeah, pretty good. I feel it's just good to see on team preview, like having that deterrent for water mons is great for my team. I think like between my 2 electric types and Tatsu, like people just don't really want to bring their water mons versus me unless you're mismag and you bring Azu to all 3 games, and then yeah, I feel like it does that unwritten work, even not on the field. Like you have to think about storm drain. Like there was actually a turn with Mismag where he was like, I can't click water move because Tatsugiri might switch in. I didn't even have Tatsugiri on me in game 3.
It's also nice for the Garganacle as well, obviously.
Yeah, and the Dolphin, yeah.
So that's cool. Mismag, as you are the only player here who's actually faced him, how did you find prepping for this team?
Absolutely horrible. This team was so difficult to prep for. And the thing about this team that I really like is that, like, I see how the immunities come into play, but the fake out pressure and the monster with the immunities is just like, it's a lot to kind of contend with, because even if I can position myself well, if you position yourself better to have fake out pressure, then you can have a little bit of momentum to get like a Tatsugiri switch in, or to get a I think Palmat has like Volt Absorber or something. You know what I mean? So like that was like the hardest part about for me personally prepping for it this week. And then of course like the Garganacle really does force a lot of prep, and I kind of got pigeonholed into over prepping for it because I didn't have a lot of good answers to it, and then I lost all the other stuff that I didn't really like look into. Like I forgot Donphin like even got Ice Shard. I thought it only had Ice Fang. Like, like little bits of stuff like that. But as a whole, I like the dance mode. I think that was really cute. The Oricorio coming in game 3 definitely was quite a surprise. It was fun to see that. And I knew from even like I first saw this team, I was like, Tatsugiri is gonna be a pain, but I didn't really have too much other ways to like really deal with it because I didn't run a dragon move on my Garchomp this week because I was too scared of Dragon Balls. So
that's another thing. We've not even mentioned Dragon Balls out there.
Yeah, exactly. Like you just have like a lot of like, it's like a lot of high offense threats coupled with fake out pressure and immunities, and honestly a pretty damn good trick room mode. You drafted a great team, great.
Thank you.
I
like the...
Sorry.
Go on. Yeah, you go on.
That's fine. I was going to move the conversation along, but if you have something to say.
Just like I think it was week 1, where my dancer mode really popped off versus Tyler.
Yeah, the opening week was really nice. Batista, any final remarks about the team?
No, like I said, I think the big one, like that, Ms. Mag just mentioned, on top of like all the nice things, was like the triple fake out just makes it very like tricky to deal with. On top of all the like powerful Pokemon, multiple immunities, and multiple modes, like definitely a good team. And Gerd has been playing really well. They've basically read their opponents, I think, incredibly well, prepped very well, and kind of their one loss, like they kind of said, is a little bit of kind of misreading the situation, or but for the most part, they played very well.
That's true. That's true. I feel like you did say that you've underutilized your lower tiers, but I felt like it's just because you're so comfortable using those mid tiers in every scenario. Like, there's not really been a call or a shout that you like, oh, I need the coverage of this mon in my lower tier, or I need the fake out from Persian because you've got the fake out elsewhere or the support. And the Grumpig is just, well, it's a Grumpig, isn't it?
P.
So yeah, no, you're doing really well. It's really nice to see you doing so well in a VGC league again. So yeah, hopefully you keep this. You stay on form. I can't do anything to stop you. So until we meet in playoffs.
Potentially, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you ran circles around me. I gotta fight now.
So with that, we move on to the only team in the league that has actually not lost a set of games, and that is, oh, there we go. You, Batista. Who would have thunk it?
Definitely not me.
Stinging like a Rabombi. 4-0. A mono team, but not in type.
Yeah. Well, so basically what happened was I was checking multiple monotype teams, and none of them seemed like to have enough Pokemon I really wanted to try out. And so I decided I just wanted to try out all the Pokemon that I thought were fun and new and cool in the new game. So I had a list of 7 Pokemon, and I'm just like, okay, since they're all new Pokemon, I might as well just do Mondo Paldea. And that's kind of what happened. So my strategy was not, I didn't even draft this team necessarily like super competitive focused. It was just like, these Pokemon are Pokemon I like the design of, and or I think would be fun to play with. And so it's like the Skeledirge, Arboliva, Rabska, Bellibolt, Tauros, Clodsire, Fraffric, and the rest of it was just like, okay, then I'll just fill it up with random other Pokemon that kind of fill my weaknesses.
Yeah.
And as you can't really see it here, but like my team's exceedingly slow. I have one Pokemon that's above 90 base speed in Tauros. But like the team has been doing work, and pretty much almost every single Pokemon has been really impressive, at least once. Yeah, Earthworm's been the disappointment so far, but it's pretty cute. But yeah, like I honestly I don't know how I'm doing as well as I'm doing. Like I haven't felt like my team was like super well when I've been like prepping against other teams. It just has kind of clicked really well. I've had good prep against my opponent, or I've been able to like read what they're likely going to bring, or I've been able to exploit specific weaknesses within their team composition. But for the most part, I'm kind of surprised that I'm 4-0 in all honesty.
I mean, I feel like you're just super comfortable with your team. Like, it's something that's not natural to us to see because you've been using monotype teams so often. But when you've been prepping and playing with this team and like in your games, you just seem to be in such a comfortable position that you kind of know what you want to do all the time. You're not really sat there questioning yourself the best decisions. It's almost as if you see the path you want to take ahead and you go for it. Like it's been really good to see, and obviously we're seeing the post comms in the content, so it's more of the post match analysis of things rather than the live video. Your live thoughts, but like even just hearing back your thought processes, it's pretty impressive how you've been playing.
I think that like the fact that Batista's doing so well here with this team just shows that like in like VDL for instance, he's been playing us on challenge mode and could easily just destroy us whenever he wanted.
Literally, it's a scary thought, isn't it? Like I was wondering, I've always thought he's been playing monotype for so long in such a difficult environment. Like he's going to come into here into WDC, and if he goes off and decides to not do monotype like he has, I'm thinking it's just going to unleash the Batista.
Yeah, I think watching his videos back, he's just been playing like super like almost basic, like just doing the basics perfectly, and that's been like, I don't know if that's the game plan or what, but like there's nothing too flashy. There's no like crazy plays. It's just like prep and playing, like just making the right plays, pretty much.
Consistent. It's also nice that his team has got such good natural bulk.
Yeah, it's really bulky.
Especially in this format.
You'd expect it. Yeah, of course. Go on.
No, I was just saying, especially in this format, and his team in particular, he's got Mons who are unaware, so you can't even set up upon. He's got the Belly Bolt, which is a similar thing to like what we saw with the Annihilate and why that's doing so well. In that if you hit it, it's going to do more damage the next time it attacks.
Yeah.
And what's been really cool is like Bombardier by itself, in my opinion, is not an overly impressive mod. But given this environment where it's not having to invest too much in its speed, it's a little bit bulkier, it's able to go into like offense and having three natural stab moves, stab types, it's worked really well because the opponents are building bulkier on their builds, they're not running as much speed, and Bombardier's not having to compete with that, so it can invest in some of its other mediocre stats. And it's just been a real commanding field presence, to be honest. It just seems to be doing really well into what the opponent's counters have been.
I think the Skeletor as well has been amazing so far.
Skeletor is just Skeletor. Like, I agree. I haven't played you, but I play you later on in the season. Gert hasn't played you. I believe you also play him in this season, don't you?
Yeah, I play not a week, I think.
Yeah, I play all the second to last in the last week.
Okay.
Then I played Miss Mag week 2.
Yeah, so let's have a hearing from you, Miss Mag. What's your thoughts on the team, having prepped and played and been crucified?
Well, I mean, that pretty much sums up my thoughts. Prepped, played, got crucified. Honestly. I mean, really, truly, I think the most deceiving part of this team is the ability to go fast or slow because of the fact that you have to respect that there is a tailwind option. And similar to dealing with Gert this week, who I found out the Donphan was actually fast Donphan under tailwind, like most of Batista's speed tiers like so middling that like you can run them pretty flexibly in either mode, and I think that's what's so terrifying about having to prep for this team. On top of that, many of these mods are very capable of setting up. Cloudsire can set up, Earthworm can set up. I believe Skeletor can just start scaling infinitely with Torch Song. Dondozo gets set up. Like it's a lot to kind of prep for. Like I prep for like a very slow, bulky offense against this team, trying to like debuff them and live hits and chip them away. And I got served like a really good knuckle sandwich of offensive plays. Like very few defensive plays other than like Terras and Protects. It really kind of caught me off guard.
Yeah. I mean, it's just been really strong showing. You've even got use out of the Octobacks. like you say, it's crazy. As something that I just realised whilst you were talking, it was about the Skeletors and how good it is and the scaling it does. Is that it got the unaware ability as well, so like you can't even boost special defense against it.
Yep. Yeah, that's the icing on the cake. Is the triple unaware ones negating setup, and then the Tauros kind of negating screens with the Raging Bolt pressure is it's a lot to kind of like deal with. Like I went into this match honestly not really knowing what I could do other than try to like spam Snarl and like Eerie Impulse because that's the only thing that sticks on monsters that are unaware.
Yeah.
You know. But he played great, and I'm not really surprised at all that he's 4-0. He's just been playing a very slow, methodical, kind of safe game, and he's certainly knows when to Terra. I've noticed a lot of good Terras from him at different moments. So yeah, go Batista.
One thing I'd like to ask from Batista's point of view is you've not really lent into your Trick Room mode, despite there being a really strong presence of a Trick Room mode. And obviously, I am aware slightly of why that is, but like it'd be nice to hear your thoughts onto how you felt navigating this such a slow team without having to use Trick Room.
Well, so I'd say first off, I have had Trick Room on one of my Pokemon almost every week. However, I frequently have just never felt the need to bring that Pokemon or just never click that move on it. Mainly just because, like, I I don't feel like I've never need speed control at any point. I felt like I was just able to myself into positions where I can be able to take any hit on my opposing Pokemon and just kill them as in countering. And so the idea was like I kind of been choosing to bring specifically better Pokemon or be able to kind of trick people with like surprisingly fast Pokemon. I know like this week, for example, I had max speed Bombardier and it ended up outspeeding a Crocodile because they just weren't expecting me to be that fast, and that ended up being incredibly impactful information. I know I had a Scarf Tauros that ended up completely dominating week 1 and week 3 because they just didn't have the speed investment because they're like, oh, my team is so slow, why would I do speed investment? And then I just kind of completely catch them off guard with that as well. So I think it's kind of just kind of a combination of going on the fast end or just kind of saying like I would rather have a good generic Pokemon on this than bring Trick Room. I think actually no, I think one week I did the specs on my Trick Room setter because as a week means that they weren't really expecting it. Like most of the time when you see like Farafrig, they're like, oh, I'm going to taunt into it, and I just brought specs to kind of punish more Trick Room preventative measures.
More passive lead, so
Yeah.
more offensive from your side to punish their assumption of a passive lead.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. No, so yeah, as I say, like there's not much more we can say about your run so far. We're at the halfway point. You're the only player to have basically guaranteed themselves a playoff position. Because I'm pretty sure any team that is 3 and X is still in contention for being knocked out. But yeah, getting 4 and X in a 6 playoff at 6 out of 10 playoff spots is basically guaranteed. You are now just going to be fighting for that round 1 bye, and yeah, hopefully you do well up until week 7. So
yes, sir.
And yeah, that concludes. That's every team of the league so far. So
We do have a little look at the table, didn't we?
yeah, that's so we'll move on to the standings, and just so anyone can have a quick look to see where they are. And like we've discussed the wins, the losses. You can see how close some of them are. In the differential, the plus and minus is the set differential, which is obviously being best of 3. It's whether they've won by 2 games or by 1 game, and so forth. So
looking at it, you said the top 2 get buys, right?
yes, correct.
Top 2 get rival buys in playoffs, which is still pretty much up for grabs. But then, like from 4 down, like they can all still make playoffs. Like,
yeah,
4th place only has 1 more win than 10th place.
Oh yeah.
So
it's in such a short season, and it's a very compact season, being 7 weeks, and obviously the halfway point being week 4. It's still anyone's game. It's still anyone's game.
Yeah.
Obviously, the top 3 have the advantage at the moment, I would say, just because they're past that halfway mark. But that's needless to say. Like, if I'm like the Welsh Wailords, if we end up tipping it with a run of losses, hopefully we don't, touch wood, I could just as easily end up in like 10th, But yeah, so we got the Rabombi's at first, Icecube's at second, Wailord's at third, Marowak's in fourth, Mawow's in fifth, and the Beedrills at sixth. And as it stands, they would be the 6 that would be progressing through. However, we still have 3 more weeks, and maybe the Marauders, Rebellion, the Kamalas, or the Scraggy can make a comeback and see themselves holding a ticket into playoffs. With all that said and done, Any closing remarks from any of you guys?
We should do this again just before playoffs.
That is true. It'd be good to have like a week 8, just a final review before the playoff run.
Just to see how the table changed from here.
Mm-hmm. You can try and do that for sure. Any additional thoughts on the season? I know we opened up with the season remarks, but now that we've discussed a few more games.
I've just been having a great time this entire season. It's been very low stress for me. It's kind of, just we're playing with friends. It's not like I'm trying to like be the champion, like the world champion. So, you kind of, yeah, exactly. So we just got to do what we want. We got to hang out with people we like. All of our teams are, I think, really powerful. And like the draft itself was also just like not super stressful because we're also on like the lower number of people. Because I'm used to doing the 24-person draft, and so like it's definitely I definitely been like it's been a nice like laid back experience that has been really fun. And then like kind of everyone communicating with everyone and having like a nice community feel.
Yeah.
Agreed.
I guess that leaves. Oh, go ahead, Gary.
No, I was just saying I agree.
Well, I was just gonna say, yeah, I've had a very good time here at the WDC. Like Batista was saying, like it's a bunch of chill people that I've liked and gotten to know over playing in other leagues. So I love hanging out with you guys. I definitely would love to do this again before playoffs. And as for my own run, I've had some pretty tough games, and it's like I'm just competitive in general, but like I do enjoy that like we can be competitive in like a relaxed environment. But I'm not quite out the gate yet. I will continue to arise from 7th place. So I lost to 2 of you, but Matrix, you got your work cut out for you. Just letting you know now.
Wouldn't have it any other way.
But yeah, man, I mean, it's a great, well-run community. Like, I really have no complaints, man. It's a great way to start out Gen 9 draft leagues.
For sure. Okay, well, thanks to anyone who is still out there listening after all this time. And thanks to all the coaches who've been playing this season. As I say, like it is the Wailord draft community, and it wouldn't be a community without you guys who are playing and participating. I know that's a cheesy way to say it, but it is true. We're really appreciative of everyone who's a part of it. It's just such a chill place, as I say, but as you've already identified, it's still competitive, and it's just a nice place to like foster the skills of Gen 9 draft going forward. So I'm hoping that the league continues for a little bit longer, and we'll see where it goes from here. But before that, we have a season to finish. We have a playoff run to go on to, and we'll have another review before playoffs, a playoff on-site or playoff look special. Till then, thank you, Batista. Thank you, Miss Mag, and thank you, Gert, for joining me in this mid-season recap.
No worries.
You got it.
It was great.
Yeah, and long. Till next time, guys. Thanks for watching.